You may have been struggling to find some of these, or even some of these, or as I found out, I couldn't even get a cucumber for the purpose of this video. And these are all part of the shortages or rationings that we've been seeing in UK supermarkets over the past few weeks and months. Supermarkets, producers and industry bodies have all been very, very quick to point the finger of blame at various different reasons, including the weather, disease, Brexit, the war in Ukraine. What's really causing these shortages on supermarket shelves, and what are we expecting to see going forward in 2023? It's a pretty complex situation, but the truth of the matter is that it is all of the above. It's a mixture of all of those factors. But what the supermarkets don't want to tell you is that it is predominantly driven by price. So let's get stuck in. It won't come as a surprise to many of you that the weather here in the UK isn't suitable to grow certain produce, particularly salads, all year round. So the supermarkets here in the UK import a lot of their produce when they're out of season. Britain relies heavily on countries like Spain, Morocco, Tunisia and Egypt for a lot of their salad imports. However, these crops have been affected by unusually cold weather, particularly across southern Europe and North Africa, including night frosts. So weather is a factor in seeing shortages on supermarket shelves, but it is not the whole picture. Good old Brexit. The UK government have been very quick to deny that Brexit has impacted these food shortages, but there is no getting away from it that it has made the situation worse. Britain as a country now imports 40% of their food, and since leaving the EU there's been an increase in paperwork, red tape and bureaucracy in getting this food across borders. Many importers have said that the additional costs and bureaucracy that have been caused by Brexit now means that the UK is at the back of the queue when it comes to supplies from European producers. It's also led to higher costs and paperwork, which cause additional delays at the border, which is of a particular issue when you're dealing with perishable goods. And this is one reason why we're seeing supermarkets on the continent fully stocked with stuff that we're missing here in the UK. On top of this, Brexit has caused a shortage of European workers coming over to the UK to pick the produce that we are growing in this country, and that's ultimately led to farmers paying higher prices to those who do come, which ultimately drives up the cost of the finished goods. The supermarkets have cited disease as one of the reasons as to why they're seeing shortages on the shelf, and in some cases this is true. Tomato plants have been particularly susceptible to tomato viruses that have been doing the rounds this year, and the outbreak of avian flu last year has meant that there's been approximately 1 billion fewer eggs laid in the UK this year. So plant and animal diseases have played a part, but many of the producers say that this isn't the real reason that they're seeing shortages on the shelves. They claim that the real reason is price. Greedy supermarkets and a lack of government support are the real reasons cited by farmers and producers as to why we are seeing shortages on UK supermarket shelves. And rightly so. The main issue here is price. The war in Ukraine has led to a surge in energy costs, inflation, and has led to a cost of living crisis here in the UK. Farm input costs, driven by the big three, which is feeding, fuel and fertiliser, have soared in the aftermath of Russia's invasion in Ukraine, but the farm gate prices that farmers receive for their products haven't gone up anywhere near as much. Supermarkets have been very, very reluctant to pass any of these increased production costs on to the end consumer, particularly in a cost of living crisis, as they don't want to lose customers to their rivals. So we end up in this situation where you get this squeezed margin, and where input costs are rising significantly, but the price in which supermarkets are prepared to pay for the produce isn't rising anywhere near as much. This is putting huge pressure on farmers and producers in the supply chain, and we're now in a position where a lot of farmers are scaling back or even stopping production altogether because it is just not financially viable. Now, this is a channel championing and supporting British farmers, so it's probably not going to be any surprise to you that I'm going to lay the blame for this firmly at the door of the supermarkets. Not because I have to or because I want to, but fundamentally I believe it to be true. For many people, food shortages and rationings in UK supermarkets is a relatively new concept, but the disregard for UK farmers and this relentless squeeze on price has been going on for decades. The spike in energy costs caused by the Ukraine war really has been the straw that has broken the camel's back for many farmers here in the UK. So what do we do about it? The food supply chain here in the UK is fundamentally broken and needs a complete overhaul. I'm not talking about a quick fix here or a quick fix there, I'm talking a complete overhaul. First and foremost, we need to pay farmers a fair price based on their cost of production. We need government support for farmers in the form of energy relief, which will help protect farmers against large fluctuations in the market like we're seeing at the minute. We also need less red tape and bureaucracy to allow workers to come to the UK to help pick all the fantastic produce that we make in this country. Okay, so rant over. What do we expect to see in 2023 and going forward? Well, unfortunately, it's much of the same. A lot of what I've talked about in this video isn't going to change overnight. The solutions are going to take time and it's not going to be a quick fix. And in the meantime, we're going to see more shortages of certain items on supermarket shelves. We're already hearing reports that the apples and pears industry, that headline did make me laugh, is on a bit of a knife edge. Leeks, carrots, cabbage and cucumbers are also at risk of running short within the next few weeks. I'm filming this video in March of 2023. Things are very fluid and things are changing all the time, so please bear that in mind. The government is encouraging people to eat more homegrown seasonal produce, and I fundamentally agree with that, but that is very, very difficult in a situation where more and more farmers are going out of business every single day.